Welcome back guys to another video, and thank you for joining me here once again. We are losing light, but it is a glorious March day, so I wanted to film this video. What we're going to cover is being aware in bushcraft. What do I mean by that? Well, when we're in the outdoors, when we're practicing bushcraft, personally I think one of the skills that is lacking nowadays is the ability to pay attention to what is around us. So that's what I want to talk about. So we're going to work quite quickly in this video because we're losing light, it's getting dark, the sun is already set. But we will do a couple of bits in the dark because I want to talk about that as well. But even just now, because it's dusk, it's a warm, nice, it has been a warm, nice sunny day. The bird noise is incredible. So yeah, let's carry on along the path a little bit. So this is a woodland that I have been in lots of times, and I mean hundreds at this point probably. I've filmed lots down here, but I've also spent a lot of my personal time and even some of my youth down here. I say youth, I'm not that old, but you know what I mean, my childhood. And you might think, well, can be nothing interesting down there? But every time you come out to a bit of woodland, or I come out to this woodland, there's always something new to see. And that is the amazing thing with the outdoors. Nothing stays the same. And as I said there in the intro, I think a skill that is massively underdeveloped and missing nowadays in the outdoor and bushcraft community is that ability to pay attention to your surroundings and to some level read what is there and what you're actively hearing, seeing and feeling. Those are my top three senses in the outdoors, which we'll come back to. But you've also got to be able to read between the lines, read what's not there, and again we'll come back to that. So senses wise, as I say, top three for me is sight, hearing and touch. Now touch isn't just feeling the tree or the plant or whatever it might be, it's also about feeling what is underfoot. Even when you're wearing a pair of hiking boots, you still feel the changes in terrain underneath your feet, and it's something that you should be aware of. And that's why a lot of people nowadays are switching to things like the Vivo barefoot shoes, which provide a much better connection to the ground. Now, beyond that, we can use all of our senses. All five of the senses we can use. So we've covered those three. In terms of taste, you do occasionally get certain tastes in the air which indicate certain plants and things like that. And that kind of is more of a smell-based thing, however. Certainly, if you're near blooming trees, or even, for example, a rotting carcass, you can smell it, and that hints at what is there. Now, I'm going to stop here in a minute and have another wee chat to the camera directly. But just in this space here that I've walked, which is no more than maybe 200-300 metres, even though I'm speaking to the camera, I've still been noticing things. I've been feeling the roots underneath my feet. I've been hearing, I heard the seagulls screaming loudly at the start, and the further this way we've come, I've heard less and less bird noise, and I've heard more of the river here, which is now becoming more predominant in my hearing. I'm seeing how the light is getting duller and duller in the woods here to my left, and in fact to the camera you can barely see, but out here in the open it's still decently bright. And that is me doing that subconsciously at the same time as moving. Obviously not everybody can do that, and certainly when you start out you aren't able to do it subconsciously, and it's still something that I'm not brilliant at, but it is a skill that we should be developing more of. Even coming out in the dusk like this, where you might think you can't see much, and certainly later on when the darkness falls completely upon us, we won't be able to see near as much. But that's where our other senses come in, and it's about using the combination of senses to help you. It has the ability to get out into an even remotely wild location like I am here today, even though this is only 5-10 minutes from my house. Some people are city locked and don't have that ability, but the thing is, these skills can still be practiced in a city. When you're walking about in your city or whatever, you can still use sight, hearing and touch to explore the city in a much more detailed way. And whenever I find myself in a city, I certainly still do the same. You know, looking into different locations and listening out for the certain sounds that you hear in the city. It's not the same sounds, but there is a set of sounds specific to each location. So even whilst just making this point, I just heard the ducks that are just over here on the other side of this bit of the river. I mean, I just heard that out the back of my ear, and I was like, there's some ducks behind me, and there they are right there. And you know, I'm looking off into the distance trying to see if I can find anything. And of course there is a tool here called binoculars that we can use to help us with that, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So again, let's keep going, and we'll have a little more bit of a chat. So obviously I'm saying that I think this skill is underdeveloped in the outdoor and bushcraft community, and that I do think holds true, but you might be asking, why does it matter? Why should it be developed? What's so important about this skill? And to be honest, it is a personal thing. It depends why you're spending time in the outdoors, but for me at least, and I think most of us bushcrafters, the reason we're out is because we want to reconnect with nature. And if we just go out to the woods, have a fire and burn stuff, and practice our bow drill or our fire steels or whatever, and we camp under the tarp and then we head on home, how many of us actually connect with nature doing that? We see it, but do we really connect with it? Most of the time, for me, the answer is no, because I'm not listening out for the nature. I'm not seeing the true nature. I'm just seeing a bit of wood. I'm just seeing, especially what I find is if we go out with that mindset of, going to have a fire, going to do a bow drill, things like that, our heads go into, that's a whole bunch of resources, rather than right, what is actually here? What is going on here? Why are they growing like this? And things like that. And it's all that natural side of bushcraft, which for me at least is a really keen interest. And thus, I'm doing this video on it. So, maybe it's not for you. Maybe that's not why you're in the outdoors and that's not why you're doing bushcraft. But if the reason you're doing bushcraft is to connect with nature, just have a think. I'm not saying you have to do anything, but just have a think. Are you truly connecting with nature, or are you just spending time in it? So I'm just actually quickly stopping here because I wanted to make a little point. Just here to my right, we've got this massive kind of almost like a weir, but natural, that the river created itself within the past year, in fact. And it creates a very loud noise here, almost to the point at which you can't even hear anything else. But to the attentive mind, we can just about hear some small birds within this canopy here. Now, the point I want to make about that is, one, if you listen to it properly and you know how to do it, you can tune out the loud noise that doesn't have much meaning and cast your ears into the forest and try and hear the birds. And I don't know whether the microphone will pick any of it up, but we will see. But the other thing, I couldn't ID those birds. What I can ID is that I've heard their call before, and I would have to hazard a guess that they're either sparrows or wagtails, but I could be completely wrong, and that's kind of the point I want to make. Just because you don't need to know your ID necessarily to practice this skill. You can still listen in for the sounds and go, I've heard that before, I recognise that call. And then later down the road, when you develop other things like your bird knowledge and things like that, then you can start to positively ID when you're in the outdoors. So this path now emerges and kind of comes right next to the river at a much lower height, and this is a really nice bit. The river calms down here, you've got a much more gentle sound. And that, I notice, thinking about it now, that I'm talking a lot about sound, but let's move on to sight here. Because I've got quite a thing that I want to talk about sight, and I do apologise if the footage is starting to get a bit grainy and a bit dark. Funnily enough, it's getting dark here in real life, and that's actually intentional, because part of what I want to talk about in this video is a skill which in my opinion goes hand in hand with being away in the outdoors and in bushcraft, and that is our ability to operate in the dark and at night, and very specifically night vision. And I don't mean the fancy night vision goggles and things like that the military use. I mean our inbuilt ability to see in the dark. And that is, for example, the exact reason why I'm yet not to have a torch out and have a torch on, and I'm going to avoid it for as long as I can. The best way to be able to see in the dark and let our night vision work is to adjust it slowly by being out from dusk into dark, and our night vision becomes much better that way. Now obviously camera lenses like the one you're seeing this through don't have inbuilt night vision, and phones nowadays, as I'm using to record this, don't have a night vision camera mode. They have a night mode but not a night vision mode, and so you're going to start struggling to see. And even in this on the screen, I can see that a lot of the bushes here are just a black blur. So I will try and do some work in post-production to brighten it up and let you see a bit better and fix the footage, but I will also in a little bit start getting some filming lights out, because we ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. Now we're just coming up here to a lovely little rest spot with a bench that I want to sit at and talk about a piece of equipment that we can use to help us when it comes to seeing things in the outdoors. So here we are, just here at this little bench, and we're just going to sit down for 5 minutes and talk about a few things. And I'm aware obviously that you probably can't see me very well, but it's just a little bit too bright yet to start getting lights out. And let's just quickly get a drink, because actually it's really warm today. And the same could have been said for yesterday. I think we probably got into double digits today. We're middle of March right now, so we should be starting to get some warmer weather, but literally this time a week ago we had up to about 10 centimetres of snow in certain places, like locally, not even going up the hills. The weather has been really quite strange recently. Bit of a cold snap, which was predicted, and now we're getting back into some more appropriate weather for March, soon to be April. And that's actually a very valid point, saying that it's March coming into April. This is the ideal time of year to start getting back out into the woods and things like that. A lot of people take the winter off, certainly the beginners and that like to take the winter off and focus on their bushcraft through the spring, summer and autumn, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that. And because we're getting back in the spring, skills like this are important to notice, because this is the time where we start hearing. There is normally the noise and the things to experience in the outdoors. the noise and the things to experience in the outdoors at this time of year is much higher, because we have things like, you know, the mating season for certain species, and birds start to become a lot more active as well. And to be honest, bird noise is one of the main things that we can pick up on when we're out here. I don't know if the microphone's picking it up, but I'm hearing a large variety of chirps and things going on around me as the animals settle down for the night. So I mentioned a piece of equipment that we can use to help us when it comes to seeing things, and I alluded to it earlier, and that is of course binoculars. This is actually a conversation I had in person with Peter Foz, and I know I mention him all the time, but he's certainly one of my favourite bushcraft and outdoors content creators on YouTube, and I have actually had the pleasure of meeting him in person in my local area. And a conversation we did have was about the fact that we don't see a lot of people carrying binoculars in the outdoors, even though they're such a useful piece of equipment. And it is actually a case of now, almost any time I'm out for an outdoor purpose or a bushcraft purpose, I've got binoculars with me, whether I'm out bushcrafting, out hiking, out on a quick walk, whatever it might be. I carry them with me. Even if I'm going out in the dark, I carry them with me, because I've found a massive help from them when I want to do some star gazing. And in fact, just in, like, straight in front of me up in the sky, there is a really bright star right now, which I currently can't ID, but based on the brightness and the fact that it's the first thing I'm seeing, I want to say that it is the International Space Station, but I might be wrong. What I will do is I will get the app out on my phone here in a minute, and we will double check that, and I will show you that. There's also now just a star coming appearing up here, and of course we could look at them through the binoculars, but I can actually see them clear enough right now that it's not too necessary. But I do recommend binoculars. You don't have to spend a fortune on them. You can get some reasonably cheap ones, and I will leave a link up in the cards and in the description to a video by Peter from Forster Bushcraft on a pair of, I believe, Go Sky binoculars, very similar to the ones that I use and about the same price. And just a simple pair of good binoculars, or, you know, relatively good binoculars, can really be helpful. And in fact, yeah, the stars are really starting to appear. There's a couple more showing up now as well. And to reference that, I have now been able to very clearly, because of binoculars, see the Seven Sisters constellation, being able to pinpoint each individual star through the binoculars, and it is brilliant. So you don't need much more kit than that. You need yourself, and you don't even need the binoculars, but it does help. So let's go ahead and have a look at some of these stars and see if we can't figure out what they are. So welcome back. I know for you this is literally like a second or two after the previous clip. For me, we're actually in a completely different day and in a completely different location. It just got too dark last night to be able to film, and I didn't really want to get filming lights out and go ahead and ruin my night vision. And actually I ended up getting some really nice views of the stars last night, so I made the decision that I would finish the filming today. We're just going to stay here for the end of this video, because I'm not going to go on for much longer. I might show you what is just over to my left here in just a minute, but for now we're going to stay here. This is a lovely little spot actually. We are quite close to a road. I can still hear the main road, and it is quite windy today, so apologies for any unnecessary noise, but let's just wrap this up here. So basically what I'm trying to say is that it's really important, in my opinion, that we start to develop these skills of being able to pay attention to what's around us, and the longer we work on it and the more we develop that skill, the more and more it becomes part of our subconscious. So I'm not that brilliant at it, but already I'm still able to sit in here. I'm thinking and talking to the camera. I've got a really loud road noise to my right, but I'm still hearing the trees shaking in the wind. I'm hearing the birds, both over to my left but also above me, hearing the trees, and things like that, and I'm starting to pick up on these things. So really what I'm encouraging you to do is to go out into a wild space, or as I mentioned earlier, you can still do this in urban spaces, and just kind of use your senses a little bit more. Focus in on some hearing or some touch, or if you are just going to use it, sight to start with, focus in on actually using your sight in detail. And if you're looking at a piece of forest, think about into the forest, look into the forest, don't just look at the wall of trees right in front of you. It is a gorgeous night right now, and the woodland here is just beautifully being dappled with the sunlight here. Again, it's been another fabulous day. It's been slightly grayer, and actually up until the point at which I was coming out to film this, it was a little bit grey and drizzly and rainy here and there, but now that I've come out, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I am going to go for a little bit of a walk here while I'm out. I've got half an hour or so, so we'll just go for a little wander, and I'll show you some things. But basically, this is going to wrap up the video in terms of actual content. Everything from this point on is just going to be me explaining what's going on around me here, what I'm seeing while I'm out on a walk. Sorry if there's just the wind there, but yeah, basically go out, use your senses, maybe pick up yourself a pair of decent but cheap cost binoculars, and as I said, there'll be links for things like that in the description, and check out and just kind of start to enjoy nature for more than just what's on the surface. So start to read the conditions, start to read what the animals are doing, things like that. Now let me know in the comment section down below whether you want to see me kind of do a video on this lines, but actually kind of practically, like actually how to do it and showing you me actually doing it and things like that. That I will also leave some links, by the way, in the description to a couple of other videos on a similar subject, and kind of the inspiration for this video to a degree. So yeah, that's gonna about do it. I'm not gonna outro the video here because the outro needs to be at the end, of course. But that is the end, guys, of the content for this video. The rest of it is just going to be me kind of showing you how good and beautiful of a day it is. So how about we go and maybe do a bit of that, and we'll just see what happens. So I was just filming back in here, and I just wanted to show you kind of what I've actually got. I had to my left, and this is what it was. It's an absolutely gorgeous body of water here. This is locally known as the duck pond. There is ducks and stuff in it, and just as I was coming at the woodland, heron took off and flew down the length of the pond, so that's really awesome. This is on the local estate, and that's why we've got the buildings and stuff, and actually that is the edge of the walled garden just there. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous area, 5 minutes from my house. Quite a good spot for filming. I'm actually thinking that I might do a little bit more filming here. The water's not the cleanest, but it's gorgeous. And we have got this path that goes the whole way around it. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to this far side and show you some stuff over. So what I'm just going to do now is head over to that other side there and show you what we've got over on that side. Here we go, we're at the other side here, and got some nice photos there. I'll throw them up on screen with the sun. So that last clip was filmed over there. This is a nice little cutout between the bushes. Nice little corner here. Really lovely. It is a lovely, and look at that sun. It's not quite as nice here as it was over there, but again, it's a pretty well maintained path. It can get a little bit muddy here, but it doesn't bother me. Adds to the effect. Ooh, this is new since the last time I've been here. Look at that sun. That's a shame that they've had to take that one down. It's clearly quite rotten. Smells great. That was a big tree, just like that one. But they've obviously had to take it down for safety. But yeah, this video up here, guys. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you liked it, hit that like button, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing down below as well. Make sure to check out the links down there if you want to find any more information. Comment as well if you've got any suggestions or things you want to see, and until next time, bye for now.